Hey there folks, Mr. G here with another educational video. This one we're going to be going over multiplying fractions. Now you might be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Mr. G, we already talked about multiplying fractions, that was like 2 whole videos ago. And you'd be right. We talked about some very specific types of multiplying fractions. In particular, we always multiplied a proper fraction by another proper fraction. So we saw examples like 3 over 4 times 2 over 9. And if you remember, the way that we would solve this, without drawing a picture of course, is we multiply the top and the bottom together. And then once we get our final answer here, we have to reduce it into simplified form. And we would get our final answer of 1 over 6. But this is only for proper fractions. What happens to other types of fractions? Fortunately for us, the same procedure is true if we have improper fractions. So if we had a question like 8 over 5 times 10 over 3, we can do the exact same thing. Multiplying the top and bottom, we get 80 over 15. We'll notice these are both multiples of 5, so I can divide the top and bottom by 5 here. And we would get our answer of 16 over 3. We can extend this pattern for working with whole numbers. Now we saw how to multiply with whole numbers in a previous video. We have something like 3 times 7 over 5. We know this means 3 groups of 7 over 5, so we could write this with some repeated addition. Recognizing that our denominator will stay the same, we've got 7 plus 7 plus 7 gives us 21 over 5, and we can't reduce this. There's another way that we can do this using fractions, which is turning this 3 into a fraction. Now if you remember, when we have a fraction, what it really means is division. So that means that we could take this number 3, if we divide 3 by 1, we get the same answer. So there's no change if we have 3 or 3 divided by 1. But this gives us a way of turning a whole number into a fraction. So now we can take this problem and make it into 2 fractions being multiplied together. Now whether the first way or the second way is easier, that's up to you. But I wanted to show you that we could also use the same idea. These are both improper fractions. We multiply the tops together, we get 21. We multiply the bottoms together, we get 5. And we'll get the same answer either way. Now so far it's been pretty smooth sailing. If we have mixed fractions, however, we have to do some extra work. If we have 2 1/3 times 1 1/2, we can't just multiply the tops and bottoms together and multiply the first 2 numbers together. That turns out to give us the wrong answer. To see why we can't just multiply the 2 and the 1 together and then multiply these 2 fractions together, there is an explanation using pictures in the textbook on page 151 to 153. They go through a couple of different examples. If you're interested why that doesn't work, I encourage you to take a look at the textbook. If we don't want to draw pictures to solve this, instead what we want to do is turn these into improper fractions. Now, if you remember from our previous video, we had a shortcut where we multiply these 2 numbers together and add it to the numerator. So 2 times 3 gives us 6, plus 1 gives us 7 over 3. Over here, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 gives us 3 over 2. Now we can multiply the tops and bottoms together, get 21 divided by 6. We can divide the top and bottom by 3 here, and we get our final answer of 7 over 2. The key with multiplication is your fractions need to either be proper or improper. Mixed fractions are no good, we've got to convert them into proper or improper fractions. Alrighty folks, let's check your understanding. 3 questions here. The first 2 you have to answer with an improper fraction, and then for the last one here, I want your answer as a mixed fraction. So pause the video, grab some paper, see if you can do these on your own. All finished? Alright, let's go over the answers. For our first one here, both of our fractions are improper fractions. We don't have to do anything besides multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators together. So on top, we'll have 36. On the bottom, we have 10. Both of these are even numbers, so I can divide them by 2 and get a final answer of 18 over 5. And this is our improper fraction, which is what the question is asking for. For our second question here, notice neither of these are improper fractions, so we have to do a little bit of work. For our first fraction, any whole number can be written as a fraction of just that number divided by 1, because dividing by 1 doesn't change anything. For our second fraction here, we have to turn this into an improper fraction. Our shortcut, 2 times 4 plus 1, gives us an answer of 9 over 2. At this point, we can multiply the tops and the bottoms together and get an answer of 45 over 2. And we can't reduce this at all. For our last question, both of our fractions are mixed fractions, but if you remember, we need to convert these into improper fractions to multiply. So using our shortcut, 1 times 5 plus 1 is going to give us 6 over 5. 2 times 8 is 16 plus 3 is 19 over 8. If we multiply the tops and the bottoms together, we'll get 114 over 40. Whew, that's going to be a little tough to reduce, but an easy starting point. Both of these are even, so we can definitely reduce it by 2. Once we're here, we can check some numbers. They're not both even. They don't both divide by 3. We can't divide both by 4 or 5 or 7 or 10, and this is going to be our final reduced form. But wait, the question's asking for a mixed fraction, so now we have to do this in reverse. So now we need to figure out what this looks like as a mixed fraction. If you remember, the shortcut for mixed fractions is we do long division. 20 goes into 57 twice, with a remainder of 17. So that would tell us that our mixed fraction is that it goes in twice fully, and then there's a remainder of 17 that's still being divided by 20. And that would be our final answer. That's the end of the video here, and that's the last one for today. Make sure you're working on your homework and keeping up with any assignments, and I'll see you all in the next video.